Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Nietzsche's work, Ecce Homo. Ecce Homo is one of Nietzsche's least popular works. It's not nearly as popular as something like Thus Spake Zarathustra or Beyond Good and Evil. However, it's absolutely essential reading for understanding Nietzsche as he understood himself. In this work, he goes over his entire life philosophy as well as some autobiographical aspects. Really, you get a full view of Nietzsche's understanding of himself, his own project, the adjustments he made along the way, and what he thinks his impact on humanity might be. It is a very unique work in that it's so self-referential. So for example, the chapters are titled Why I Am So Clever, Why I Am So Wise, Why I Write Such Good Books, and Why I Am a Destiny. So it's a little bit hubristic, it's a little bit sarcastic, it's also quite rhetorical in its nature, and in many ways it's a new kind of book that doesn't really exist prior to him writing it. It is a challenge to kind of philosophical orthodoxy in that it's so personal in the way that it talks about his system of ideas and his previous works and things like this. He's also, of course, making a lot of comparisons of himself to the god Dionysus as well as Zarathustra throughout, and so you get an idea about how he thinks of himself if you have read Thus Spake Zarathustra or you're familiar with his interpretations of Dionysius and kind of the turn away from Apollonianism that Nietzsche is encouraging throughout his work. So these are the kind of themes that he's dealing with. He's giving you a full review of all of his work, the adjustments he's making, his reflections on the refinement of his ideas over time, as well as aspects of his personal life. And so you learn in Ecce Homo about his understanding of diet, his understanding of climate, his understanding of really place overall in terms of the shaping of a human being, one's perceptions, and one's thought. He talks about his time in Turin a lot. He also talks about his time in Basel, and really you get an account of his struggles with illness, his struggles with his diet, his struggles with climates, and his ideas about how that affects one as a philosopher, whether that's the amount of people that you're around, the altitude that you're at, what kind of food you're eating, etc. All of these things for Nietzsche are absolutely crucial to one's thought, really the health of one's thought. And in many ways, he views the health of the physical body as inseparable from the health of one's thought, something that really we're just kind of catching up to. Here we are, over 100 years later. So it is a very I'd say futuristic book. In many ways, it's a kind of new technology in the way that he's writing the book, and also in the way that he's sort of interpreting his own life project. Again, it's a very ambitious project. Nietzsche is ostensibly trying to come up with a replacement for the dying system of Western metaphysics. And so if you agree with Nietzsche that Western metaphysics is dying or dead, then it's a very tough challenge. And Nietzsche is up for that challenge in a way that not too many other people are. Not too many other people have the confidence, let's just say, some would call it hubris, to try to come up with a whole new system of metaphysics to replace the dying Western metaphysics. But that is really something that Nietzsche is trying to do in his philosophy. So flawed as it may be, if you think so, or whatever disagreements you may have with Nietzsche about his plans or the implementation of them or his own philosophy, he really is the most profound, the deepest, and probably the strongest challenger to put forward any kind of real alternative to Western metaphysics thus far. Honestly, no one has come anywhere close. That being said, there are some other things that people might be interested in understanding if you get a chance to read Ecce Homo. So for example, he talks about his relationship to Wagner. He also talks about his relationship to Christ, to Christianity more broadly, and how he conceives of that. Again, he's referring to himself a lot as Zarathustra, as Dionysus. These are two figures which Nietzsche sees a lot of affiliation with in his own life and work. So if you understand him as a Zarathustra type figure, that is a la the Zarathustra of Thus Spake Zarathustra, or a Dionysian type figure in terms of his the the impulses that are there and the kind of irreverence that is represented by that, then you start to get an idea of what's going on. Um, Last thing I want to leave you with here is just that this is, again, Nietzsche's account of his own life. And so, in many ways, it leaves us with rich material on which to banish any kind of speculation about what it is that he was doing, or what it is that he thought he was doing, about contradictions or apparent contradictions in his works, in between books, etc., because a lot of that stuff he just clears up in Ecce Homo. So, read Ecce Homo, and you're going to get a lot of answers to those kinds of questions. And you're going to be able to also dispel a lot of misinterpretations or malinterpretations that people may be putting out there about what Nietzsche was doing. And again, it's a very ambitious project, his life project. He's spending a lot of time in this work being very self-referential, being self-reflective, being self-critical even. And shortly after writing this, he goes absolutely insane. So 4 months after the publication of this work, after finishing this work, he goes absolutely insane, and then just kind of ends up in a catatonic state. Everything that's published after that, things like The Will to Power, are published posthumously by others. And so, who knows? Maybe this work itself drove him insane. Maybe if you're trying to take on such an ambitious project, you're putting so much pressure on yourself. You're also doing all this like self-criticism and self-reflection. Maybe that would drive a man, even to such a great mind as his, absolutely insane. But that's for you to decide. I hope that this has been a good review of Ecce Homo. I hope it has prompted you to read it if you're interested in Nietzsche and Nietzsche's systems of thought. It's a great book to read because, especially if you've read all of the other books,